The race for the next IOC president is heating up, with Juan Antonio Samaranch Jr. among the frontrunners. As a long-time IOC member and vice president, he brings experience. But in a changing sports landscape, what's his vision for the future? To answer all that, he joins us now. Welcome to WION, Mr. Samaranch Jr.
Well, first of all, good morning.
First off, how confident are you about your chances?
You know, it's a very special system, the voting systems in the IOC. So at the end of the day, I can be very confident that I have been able to transmit to all my colleagues and the IOC members my ideas, my plan, what I think I want to do, and how I plan to get that done. So I'm pretty confident that with all that information, they will make the right decision. So with all difficulties that are implied in the system, which is a secret ballot with only 100 people more or less voting, with all this uncertainty, I'm pretty confident that I will be able to compete very fiercely on the 20th for the presidency.
I've gone through your manifesto, but for our viewers, could you break it down in a few words?
Well, basically, my point is that we are nowadays, in 2025, after extraordinarily successful games in Paris, at a very, very strong position for the IOC and the Olympic movement. The big success of the Paris Games has been a perfect stepping stone for what is to come in the future. But actually, what is happening in the world and in society, it's the same thing that is going to happen to us. The rate of acceleration, the rate of change that is we are experiencing in everything we see, from business to society to sport, it is so fast, and it's so increasingly faster at every turn of the way, that what we need to have today is a very agile IOC, agile International Olympic Committee, to be able to cope with those changes and the pace of those changes. We need to stay ahead of the curve. So my manifesto, instead of just going about some basic principles on the on Olympics and the overall good that we do to the world, I did try to focus on 40 action points that go from everything from the Olympic Games to the way we organize ourselves and how do we interact with society, that are basically a plan, an action plan, an overall action plan that can be implemented. That is basically what my manifesto is all about.
Gender equality is a key focus for many contenders. What is your stance on the issue? And specifically, where do you stand on allowing transgender women to compete in female sports category?
Okay, about gender and about gender equality, we have I think we have to separate two things. First is the competition. I think I've been extremely clear to say that difference between, or the difference in sports competition, there have been a difference between men and women from the very beginning, and the only purpose of that was to protect women. So our objective that we cannot renounce to, and that we will follow to the most insignificant details, is that women's sports has to be fair and has to be safe for women. That means that we will have to go on a very fast scientific review of the situation, how to define that safety and how to define that fairness, but it should be implemented 100% by the Games in Milano Cortina.
You also have a vision for IOC's future in terms of business model, correct?
Yeah, I mean, bear in mind that the pinnacle of what we do is called the Olympic Games. This is the most single important thing that we do. This is the thing that generates an enormous amount of resources, financial resources, that then, through our organization, they are filtered down to the base of the world sports pyramid. So we need to make sure that filtering down of the funds, that is done through a sufficient amount of funds, that the world sport will continue to turn. And that is very, very important. That means that we have to concentrate and make our current revenue sources more efficient, more actual, and more aligned with the needs of the marketing world, international sports marketing world, and broadcasting realities, named that digital and the digitalization of our world and artificial intelligence. But we will also need additional resources, additional sources of funds, because the amount of funds needed to safeguard and promote the future generations of Olympians through the space, through the grassroots sports in all the countries in the world, including India, of course, has no limits. So we have to work very hard to continue to secure and advance and increase our revenue sources.
What are your plans for countries like India, which has a huge market but has struggled to perform well at the Olympics?
We are about universality. That is the basic bedrock of what we do. I mean, we are trying to inspire the youth of the world, or the entire world, through the youth and sport, to be united, to share our common humanity, to make sure that we celebrate our differences rather than fight about them. So universality cannot be complete without bringing on board with full strength a country with a population and importance of India. So whoever is the next president, he will have to concentrate to make sure that that promise of India being part and taking its rightful place in the Olympic community is a reality by the end of the next mandate.
Now, if you become president, will India get your support to host the 2036 Olympics?
Listen, that is, let me tell you, in my manifesto, I'm very clear that the main decisions of the International Olympic Committee will have to go back to the session and to the IOC members. So as the future president, as you said, if I ever get there, I think that it's going to be the IOC members in the session that will make the final decision. I think that it will be for India to present a good project, and I'm sure it will be extraordinarily welcomed by our Olympic community. As I said, India has to take its rightful place in our Olympic world.
Outgoing President Thomas Bach recently said he's confident the IOC will get full support from US President Donald Trump for the Los Angeles Games. If you win the election, do you plan to discuss this with him soon?
Well, I think that, I mean, it's not me. It's the obligation of the future president to make sure that we concentrate all our energies, all hands on deck, on the most important thing that I just mentioned, which is organize the Olympic Games. We will have in 8 months' time, we will have or more, 10 months' time, we will have the Winter Games in Milano Cortina in Italy. But in less than 3 years' time, we will be in Los Angeles. So it is of capital importance that we are aligned with the US government and the organizing committee. But the good news, let me tell you, President Trump already said at the very beginning of his presidency that that presidency will be marked by 3 very important events. One was certainly the 250th anniversary of the creation of the United States of America. But another one was the Olympic Games in Los Angeles 28. The United States have proven extraordinary passion for the Olympic Games and for Olympism. Throughout the years, from the very beginning, they've always been an important, very important partner to what we do. And this is not going to change. The Games in Los Angeles are a unique opportunity for that country to make sure that they impress the world once again with their organizational capacity and the powerful country and in their culture. So I believe we are very much aligned. But yes, if I make it to the presence of the IOC, I will waste no time and try to talk to President Trump's administration, of course.
The IOC has faced criticism over issues like athlete welfare and financial transparency. How do you plan to address these concerns?
Athlete welfare is critical to us. We are necessarily an athlete-centered organization. What we are, the officials and the executive board and the organization itself, is nothing in comparison to the power of the athletes. The people are out there, they follow the Olympics and they are inspired by the Olympic ideals because not of people like me, because of people that are their heroes, the athletes. So we have to make sure that they are in the best possible shape, and that they are treated not only fairly, but everything turns around them. So physical health, mental health, being able to train with the best possible technologies, being able to access all of them across the board, regardless of the power or the wealth of their own countries. They have to have access to the best possible training systems and to the best possible recovery systems when they are injured. So this is all about the athletes and their capacity to inspire the world.
With climate change becoming a growing concern, how will the IOC ensure future Olympic Games remain sustainable and environmentally responsible?
Well, about the climate, I've said many times, and I said in this interview to you, and let me repeat that, well, we are all about universality. Universality means many things, but also that there are no territories in the world that should be excluded from the possibility of organizing the Olympic Games because of climate. In India, significant parts of India, most of India maybe, would be affected by that. So if climate is going to be a factor, and I believe it is, and it continues to be a growing factor in those decisions, we have to make sure that in future competition between potential host cities to organize the games, we have to get climate off the table. We have to make climate not to be a disadvantage for territories that are affected by climate change. That means that we will need to adapt the world sports calendar to be able to allow countries like India compete in all fairness with other proposals to organize the games. So since it is certain that the world climate is not going to adapt to the world sports calendar, we will need to do the right thing, which is adapting the world sports calendar to the climate.
How do you plan to navigate the growing geopolitical tensions that sometimes impact Olympic participation and hosting decisions?
Well, this is a complicated world, but it's not more complicated than it has always been. I mean, the world is always complicated. Now we are seeing a different set of threats and challenges, and we will have to deal with that like the organization has dealt with these things in the past. We come from a very, very strong presidency by President Bach, where he has really made sure that the IOC and the Olympic movement are central in most international organizations' agendas. And this has been an extraordinary success, and it's critical for our future. So we will have to continue to force our presence in those forums, a presence in that political world, in order to be able to be non-political. Listen, we cannot take sides. We have to be very neutral. If we are true to being universal and bringing everybody together under the same roof in the Olympic Village, we cannot yield to the pressures from the West or from the East or from any social group, religious group, or political system saying that that is better than others. We have to accept everybody like they are, because our thing is not about politics. It's about bringing the youth of the world through sport to demonstrate that another better world is possible. So we will continue to fight very hard for that non-political neutrality that we have. And that, in its own rightful self, is already an extremely powerful political statement.